Good evening and welcome into Sports Talk on a Budget. It is May 17th, year of our Lord 2025. Took a little bit hiatus. Wasn't a lot going on after the draft for the NFL and college football as well. And then I have my other show that I've been doing a lot of topics on as well. So took a couple weeks off there, but back and rolling. Football is only about 16 weeks away. College football is only about 15 weeks away. So lots going to happen here in the next couple of months, and then getting into training camp, fall camp for college football. There'll be a lot more content coming at you here on Sports Talk on a Budget. And if you do like this content, whether it's the audio or video version, if it's the video version, please subscribe right down here onto YouTube under Sports Talk on a Budget. Leave a comment with some of your takes from this offseason as well. However, if you prefer the audio version, this podcast can be found under Sports Talk on a Budget on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Please go and like and subscribe to the podcast on those networks as well. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and look at our show today. Like I said, it's still mid-May, so not a lot going on, but had some breaking news this week in the NFL. And then there was a college football topic I wanted to talk at the end that's been bouncing around all offseason as well. So first topic of the day is going to be Brock Purdy gets paid. Brock Purdy gets a massive contract extension from the 49ers. Going to break down the numbers there and what it means for him, the team, and just kind of the quarterback position going forward as well. Second topic of the day, we're going to go to stay in the NFL, actually. And we had the schedule release on Wednesday. There was a lot of nuggets and leaks of games before that, but the full schedule for every team was released on Wednesday. I'm going to give you my top 5 most important games for the 2025 NFL season. As it stands right now, obviously things are subject to change. The season can definitely change things as well, but give you my top 5 most important games going into the season. And then my third and final topic, we're going to move to college football and talk about this college football expansion that has been just these meetings and talks about what the college football playoff is going to look like after this season and going forward, expanding to 16 and other things like that. Going to talk about, I think it's going a little bit too far, but going to break down what's been talked about and how I think it's not really good for college football going forward. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into that first topic there, and that is going to be Brock Purdy getting paid. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Brock Purdy signs an extension with the San Francisco 49ers. It's a 5-year, $265 million deal that is $53 million annually, and then he's also going to get $181 million guaranteed. That'll make him the 7th highest quarterback in the league. Now, could I sit here and tell you that Brock Purdy is a top 7 quarterback in this league? No, I can't, because I don't believe he is. But if you look at the people that are above him that I think he's better than, it kind of makes a little bit more sense once you do that. There's Dak Prescott's the highest paid quarterback in the league and not nearly the best quarterback in the league. Tua Tagovailoa is a top 5 paid quarterback in the league, not near of top 5 quarterback in the league. And that includes Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, all guys ahead of Brock Purdy, even after this signing with highest paid quarterbacks in the league. So he's better than all 4 of those guys, in my opinion. Going forward, I would take him over Dak, definitely over Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa, and over Jordan Love. That might be an unpopular opinion, but I would take him over Jordan Love, to be honest with you there. So what we're seeing right now with the quarterback position, this contract that Brock Purdy signed is kind of the going rate. We've seen good quarterbacks sign for this number, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and we've seen average to below average quarterbacks sign this number. Those guys I just mentioned, from Trevor Lawrence to Tua Tagovailoa to Dak Prescott. So this is kind of just the going rate for quarterbacks if you're going to be what the franchise considers a franchise quarterback. Now, like I said, I don't think all these guys that have signed this number are franchise quarterbacks, but I do believe that Brock Purdy has the potential to be a franchise quarterback and has been a franchise quarterback for this team for his career so far. And if you look at how Brock Purdy got started, of course, we've all heard his story. He was the last pick in the draft. He was Mr. Irrelevant. But the year before, the 49ers drafted Trey Lance, the guy they thought that would be their future, took him with a 3rd overall pick, gave up a couple of first-round picks to get Trey Lance. And that did not work out. And it could have been really bad if that didn't work out, if Brock Purdy wasn't there, because Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't stay healthy. You couldn't blow on the guy without him getting injured. And then Trey Lance is clearly not an NFL starting quarterback. It's probably not even going to be an NFL quarterback this year either. Brock Purdy helped kind of save this franchise from what would have been just an embarrassment of Trey Lance and trading those first-round picks for a guy who didn't play his senior year because of COVID and really only started one season in division in the FCS at North Dakota State. So I believe that the 49ers know that they've owed Brock Purdy because of what he was able to do to step into that role. They had a ready-made team to compete for a championship. They just needed that quarterback to take them over the edge. He was the guy to step into that role and take them as close as you can get to a championship. I mean, they had the lead in overtime in the Super Bowl, but couldn't close the deal, of course, against the Chiefs 2 Super Bowls ago. But still, Brock Purdy, like I said, I'm not the biggest Brock Purdy fan, but he is a serviceable quarterback. He is a guy that is a franchise quarterback in this league in 2025. And like I said, this is the going rate for quarterbacks. So people can yell out they want, oh, he's not worth $53 million. He's not worth that. Sure, whatever. That is the going rate for quarterbacks, and he is better than 4 of the quarterbacks that are paid higher than him. So this was what's going to happen with Brock Purdy and the 49ers, and the fact that he pretty much saved this franchise after the whole Trey Lance debacle. If he would end up not being anything to write home about, being what we thought he would have been as a 7th-round pick, I don't even know if this team, they might make the playoffs as a wild card. They probably don't win the division with the Rams in it. But this team and the last 5 years for this San Francisco 49ers team without Brock Purdy looks a lot different if he doesn't step in and do what he did for them. And so what's going to happen, though, when you get this money? Pressure comes. Obviously, there's pressure because you play for a big brand in the 49ers. You play for a team that has been a championship contender pretty much the last 5 years outside of last year. So pressure has been on Brock Purdy, but he was also the 7th-round pick. He was a guy that no one believed in that really could be that guy. Now he's got the franchise believing in him. Now he's the highest paid player in the locker room, so there's the pressure that comes with that. He is the face of your franchise for at least the next 5 years. That is it. That is what it is. And so pressure is going to come with that. And can he live up to that pressure? Because we've already seen the roster thin out a little bit. You lose Deebo Samuel. You lose guys on defense like Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, guys like that. You lose good key players on your team because they knew they had to prepare for the kind of contract they were going to give Brock Purdy. But they see him as a guy that can elevate a team and not a guy that's being elevated by his team. So that's going to come with a lot of pressure. And like I said, can Brock Purdy live up to that pressure, and can he keep this team in contention? And not just in playoff and division contention, but in championship contention, because outside of last year, they have been a championship contending team, and can they stay that level? One thing that's going for the 49ers going into the season, because I'm not bullish on this team, but they actually got, if you look at last year's records, so the strength of schedule they got this year is as of right now on paper the weakest strength of schedule they've in the entire NFL. They have the easiest schedule in the entire NFL going into this season. So this should be a 10-11 win team with the schedule they got. They still have a lot of talent. They re-signed and extended George Kittle. We'll see what's left of Christian McCaffrey. They did pick up some good defensive players in free agency and in the draft. So this is a team, like I said, I'm still not bullish on, but they still have the talent. They still have the coaching. You bring Robert Saleh back. That should help out your defense. Of course, Kyle Shanahan will keep the offense going as well. So congrats to Brock Purdy for that contract extension. You can yell at the wall all you want about him not deserving it. Is he the 7th best quarterback in the league? No, he's not. But is he better than 4 of the guys that are paid higher than him? Yes, he is. So we're just going to have to get used to it. Quarterbacks are going to be getting $50 million, $55 million and above going forward, and it's going to just get even worse and worse. This is the going rate for franchise quarterbacks in the league. Whether you think they're a franchise quarterback or not, this is the going rate when teams think that their quarterback is a franchise quarterback, and so that's what happened here. Brock Purdy gets paid. Like I said, I think they did him a solid too because he really helped save their franchise from the whole incident, the whole situation with Trey Lance and how they lost a couple of first-round picks. So hats off to Brock Purdy. Congrats there. Pressure is on. Schedule is easy. So can he keep this 49ers team above water? Can he get them to turn around after last season? The pressure is going to be on him because if they're not able to get 10 wins against this schedule, or at least get to the playoffs against this schedule, it's going to come after Kyle Shanahan first, of course. But you know who's going to be the second person that they that they blame for not making the playoffs with this schedule, and that's still that good roster, it's got to be Brock Purdy. And that comes with the territory when you're a quarterback that is paid highly like he is. So can he live up to the pressure? Can he take this team over the edge with the roster not being as stacked as it has been in the past? I think he's still a very good quarterback. I think he's still a franchise quarterback. I'd probably have him somewhere between like 9 and 12 in the best quarterbacks in the league instead of 7th, but still. This is the going rate for quarterbacks. This is what they're going to get paid. No one needs to be all upset about this. If the 49ers miss on this, at least they went down swinging with the guy that helped save their franchise from one of the worst draft picks they've had in their franchise's history. So, yeah, it's a lot of money, but I think he could be worth it. And like I said, at the end of the day, and like I've said multiple times now, this is the going rate for quarterbacks. And this is a guy that has proven more than a lot of players that are being paid just as much as him or more than him, that he actually is maybe worth it of that contract as well. Let's go ahead and move to our second topic, and that is going to be staying in the NFL, where we're going to talk about the schedule release. So the full schedule for every team was released Wednesday night. We had some nuggets kind of throughout the week and last week about games and times and games throughout the season, but we finally got the full schedule for every team going into the season on Wednesday, and I wanted to go through my top 5 most important games for this NFL season. Let's go ahead and start with my first most important game, and that is actually a week 1 game, and that is the week 1 Sunday night football game, and that is the Ravens traveling to Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills. Of course, this is a rematch of last year's divisional round matchup, which was a classic. That game there that went back and forth. The Ravens were down most of the game, came all the way back at the end, and then Mark Andrews drops the 2-point conversion for them to tie the game and send it to overtime. Either way, this is a huge game because the Ravens and Bills, one of these two teams needs to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl this year. One of these two teams needs to, because these two teams have been knocking at the door for years now. These two quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, who I think are by far the second and third best quarterback in the league behind Patrick Mahomes, of course. These two teams, the pressure is on. Like, this has to happen for one of these two teams this year. One of these two teams has to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl this year, and the pressure starts in week 1 because this could be a seeding game. You could look down the year and, okay, well, maybe the Ravens are the 1 seed or the 2 seed. Maybe the Bills are the 1 seed or the 2 seed, but who's the 3 seed? Who's the 2 seed and who's the 1 seed? This could be a seeding game all year. This could be a game that we're looking back all season being like, hey, these two teams are great, but what happened in week 1 between them? This is a huge game. I know it's just a week 1 game, and week 1 games can be a little bit tricky because players don't play in preseason. Obviously, it's the first week of the season, so things are always a little bit tricky because of that as well, but still, huge game. If the Ravens can go into Buffalo and win week 1, that's a huge statement to open up their season. So I think this is one of the biggest games of the season. I understand it's a week 1 game, but these two teams expect to be there at the end in the conference championship, and one of them being in the Super Bowl. So this is going to be a huge game, even though it's a week 1 game. My number 2 game is going to feature the Ravens again, but it's a week 4 game, and it's the Ravens at the Chiefs. Now, unlike the Buffalo Bills, who have played the Chiefs really well in the regular season, actually own the Chiefs in the regular season, they just can't beat them in the playoffs. The Ravens can't beat the Chiefs playoffs, regular season, doesn't matter. They can't beat the Chiefs, and that has been a thorn in their side for years now, and pretty much ever since Lamar Jackson took over as quarterback, he cannot beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a week 4 game, so it's early on in the season, but just like the game I talked about before, this is a seeding game. All 3 of these teams that I've talked about so far expect to be top 3 teams in the AFC, and we all expect them to be the top 3 teams in the AFC, but they're all going to be jockeying for that number 1 seed to get that bye going into the playoffs. This is a huge game, not just for the Ravens' psyche to actually get a win over the Chiefs, even though it's just a regular season game, but for playoff seeding and just to kind of get the momentum. If the Ravens come out of week 4, 4-0 with wins against the Bills and the Chiefs in their homes, that would be an unbelievable start for the Ravens. But if they come out of week 4 and they're 2-2 and have lost to the Chiefs and the Bills, they're going to have an uphill battle if they want to try to get the 1 seed going in the playoffs and get that first round bye. So it's a pivotal start to the season in those first 4 weeks for the Baltimore Ravens. If they could split those, it'd probably be huge. If they can win them both, that would obviously be immensely huge, but they cannot lose them both. They cannot lose them both if they want to be the one seed and kind of have the AFC playoffs run through Baltimore going into the postseason. And then we're going to stay in the AFC for my third overall game, and we're going to stay with these teams that I mentioned because these teams have separated themselves. And this is going to be the Chiefs at the Bills. And like I said, this is a Week 9 game. Week 9, Chiefs at the Bills. So you're later in the season. This is more important as it gets later in the season. This should be like a November game. But like I said before, the Chiefs own the Bills in the postseason. The Bills recently have owned the Chiefs in the regular season. So if the Bills get another victory at home over the Chiefs, is it just another regular season victory, or is it something that they can build upon going into the postseason? If the Chiefs go into Buffalo and get a victory, what does that do to the psyche and kind of just the mental fortitude of this Buffalo Bills team? Okay, we've always beat them in the regular season. Now we can't do that. We've never beaten them postseason. Now we're losing them in the regular season. You get in your head a little bit. You start thinking about it a little bit too much. This could be a very pivotal game. Week 9, you're later into the season. This could be a seeding game as well, but still a big game. Anytime these two teams are on the field together, it's always big, whether it's regular season, postseason, I don't care when. It's always a big game, and the Bills are always going to be under more pressure to beat the Chiefs in any capacity. Regular season, postseason, especially postseason, but in any capacity to win against the Chiefs. Can they keep that role that they have against them in the regular season in this Week 9 game in Buffalo? And then we're going to move to the NFC now. And this is later in the season as well. This is a Week 11 game, and this is the Lions at the Eagles. And, of course, these were the top two teams in NFC last year. I expect the Eagles to be up there. I think the Lions will be up there again, although they have a lot to replace with losing both their offensive and defensive coordinators, but still a really talented team. These may be the two best rosters in the NFL. When you look from top to bottom, position to position, the Lions and the Eagles may have the two best rosters in the entire NFL. And when they're playing in Week 11, I fully expect both of them to be leading the division and be jockeying for the number 1 seed in the NFC. So this is a really big game. And if the Lions are in that position that I think they can be in, even without their coordinators, Dan Campbell's been able to kind of keep the ship going, keep it in the right direction with new coordinators. That really bodes well for this franchise going forward. I think this is a really big game, Lions at Eagles. Both these teams have Super Bowl, at least appearance and championship expectations, of course, with the Eagles coming off of the Super Bowl championship win this past Super Bowl. So huge game late in the season in Week 11. I think this can be a really big barometer on who could be the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Then finally, with my 5th game, it's actually be 2 games. We're going to stick with the Eagles as well in both of these games. And this is going to be Week 16 and Week 18 games. The first one is a Week 16 game, and that is the Eagles at the Commanders. And this could be a division game that is looking to get for who's going to be ahead in the division this late in the season. This could be really kind of jockeying for that division spot and for that top overall playoff spot. Because I do believe the Commanders will keep the momentum from last year and look good this year as well. So this is a really big game in Week 16. And the crazy part is these two turn around and play again in Week 18 on the last week of the season. It's Commanders at the Eagles at the Link in Philadelphia. That is going to be a huge game. That could be for the division. Either one of these games could be for the division at that point, because I think these are the clear top 2 best teams in the NFC East and probably top 2 of the top 4 teams in the NFC as a whole. So this is a huge game for the NFC, because this could be the team that is the number 1 overall seed. This could be the NFC East champions, 2 of the better quarterbacks in the conference, 2 of the better teams in the conference. I really like the Commanders offseason and what they were able to do. You add Laramie Tunsil, you add Deebo Samuel. They had a solid draft as well. This is going to be 2 big games to end the season, 2 big division games to end the season between Washington and Philadelphia, that I'm actually absolutely going to be glued to my TV screen watching those games, because that's going to be huge, and that's going to be determining who is the top seed or who is the best team in the NFC, and then, of course, who is going to win the NFC East as well. So those are my top 5/6 games, because we did 2 games with the Eagles and Commanders to end the season. But those are my top 5 games, my top 5 most important games in the NFL 2025 season. Please leave a comment with some of your top games. I'd love to be able to see. There's a lot of teams I left off. There's kind of homecomings, Seattle going into Minnesota. So you have Sam Darnold's homecoming. You have the Packers playing the Steelers. That could be the first time Aaron Rodgers has played the Packers since he's left there. You got a lot of things that could happen in this season. A lot of big games throughout the season. Schedule is out. Go look at your team. Go look at the schedule they have. Do the win-loss thing if you want. That's kind of fun. It's kind of lame, but it's kind of fun. You get your team. You look at the roster. You look at the schedule, like win, loss, win, loss. It's kind of a fool's errand a little bit because no one really knows unless you're one of those top teams. You can kind of pick where you're going to win and where you're going to lose usually, but still a fun exercise to do. But schedule is out for all 32 NFL teams. We're about 16 weeks away roughly from the start of the regular season with the Eagles and the Cowboys opening up on Thursday night. And then we have the Chiefs against the Chargers in Brazil on that Friday night on YouTube. That'll be interesting as well. Not YouTube TV, just YouTube. Just like we're on here on YouTube as well. So that'll be interesting as well. But schedule is out. Go check out your team's schedule. Leave a comment with some of the win totals from your team as well. I'd love to see that as well. Finally, we'll go ahead and end my show today, and we're going to move to college football. Haven't talked college football a lot. College football offseason is a little bit difficult because there's a lot going on with transfer portal, recruiting, things like that. It's hard to kind of keep up with it all at the same time, but I wanted to talk about this topic that's kind of been percolating all offseason with college football, and that is the expansion. So the 12-team college football playoff, this will be the last year of the iteration that we've seen. So it was a 2-year contract, basically. It'll end this year in the 2025, 2026 college football playoffs. So this will be the last year of the 12-team iteration as we see it. And the talk so far this offseason has been expansion to 16 teams. And so that's what we've seen so far. And what's been proposed, especially by commissioners from the SEC and the Big Ten, Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey, is automatic bids. So what's been proposed so far, and I don't know if it's going to ever happen, but it has gotten some steam as well, is an expansion to 16 teams. So a 16-team playoff, 4 automatic bids for the SEC and the Big Ten, 2 automatic bids for the ACC and the Big 12, 1 automatic bid for the Group of 5, and then 3 at-large teams to make up the field. I don't like that. I just don't like it. I don't like that many auto bids for the SEC and the Big Ten. I understand they're the top 2 best conferences in the country. There's no disputing that. They're the top 2 best conferences in the country. But if you have a 16-team playoff, most likely those 2 conferences are going to get 4 teams apiece. It's just going to happen. And if they don't, those 4 teams from the SEC or the Big Ten didn't deserve to be in. Like, everybody was crying that the SEC should have gotten either Alabama, South Carolina, or Ole Miss in. Those teams didn't deserve to be in. They all had 3 losses. We don't need to have a 4-loss or a 3-loss or 3 or 4 loss SEC or Big Ten team get an automatic bid just because they're in that conference. That's not how it should be. You should have maybe 2 automatic bids if you expand to 16 teams. But giving 4 automatic bids, I don't like it all. I don't like it all because now you're rewarding these conferences for basically taking over the sport. They've taken over the sport with the conference realignment and the expansion of these conferences. And if you give them 8 teams between 2 conferences, you know they're going to get at least another 1 or 2 at-large bids. There could be 10 teams in a 16-team field from the SEC and the Big Ten. And 8 of them are guaranteed. I don't like that at all. And the ACC and the Big 12 have really pushed back on this notion. They're like, no, we don't like that. It hasn't gained a lot of steam from the ACC and the Big 12, even though they're getting their 2 automatic bids. And I don't know if the Big 12 and ACC are 2 automatic bid conferences either, in my opinion. But I'm okay with automatic bids, but not 4 apiece for a conference and not 2 apiece for conferences that didn't really perform that well this past year either. Should be 2 automatic bids for the SEC and the Big 10, is my opinion. 1 automatic bid apiece for the Big 12 and the ACC. 1 automatic bid for the Group of 5, and then the rest could be at larges. If you end up with 10 SEC and Big 10 teams, great. They earn their way into the field. But they don't need to be automatically in the field because the sticker on their helmet says SEC or Big 10. I don't believe in that. I don't think that should happen. Expanding to 16, in my opinion, is too big as well. You have 12. I think 12 was a little bit big for my taste as well. I thought a 6 or an 8 playoff team bracket would have been better. But you're at 12 now. We're never going to go less. It's always just going to be more. 16 is too much. The college football season ended on January 20th this year. That's going into what? Divisional round in the NFL. You don't want to be going up against the NFL in that. That's why they had to play weekday games instead of weekend games, because the NFL owns the weekend in January. You should be ending your season somewhere around New Year's Day, just like college football always has and always should, because New Year's Day is still owned by college football. You shouldn't be going till Inauguration Day on January 20th, and you should be playing on a Monday, but that's a conversation for another day. If you move to 16, you may be ending the season in fucking February. There's no reason ever for the college football season to start at the end of August and go all the way to February. That should never happen. That's just going to screw up the college football calendar even worse than it already is. So keep it at 12 teams where you have it now. The automatic bids, I don't love either. I think they should take away the automatic bids at a 12-team model. I could see expanding to 16, you do an automatic bids, but hey, if you want to keep the automatic bids, don't keep the automatic buys. If you win your conference, great. You don't get an automatic buy. I don't like that either. Even though Arizona State, I love their story. They weren't the fourth best team in the country this year. And of course, Boise State was not the third best team in the country this year. So you can get it automatically when you win your conference, but you don't get an automatic bye. I don't like that at all. And no way we should do 4 teams apiece in the 4 teams apiece for the SEC and the Big Ten. If they earn their way from at-large bids, that's fine. That's how it's supposed to be. But there should not be 8 teams automatically in a college football playoff field just because, like I said, the sticker on their helmet says SEC or Big Ten. That should not happen. One thing that this could do, though, which I would like, if they do expand to 16 and start doing more of these conference bids, the only thing I would like to come out of this would be get Notre Dame's ass finally into a conference. Finally into a conference, because there's only going to be 3 spots left after all the automatic bids, and they're going to have to get one of those 3 at-large bids. It's going to be difficult some years for Notre Dame. But if they're in a conference, whether it's the ACC, if they're in the ACC, they're almost going to always have a real good chance of getting one of those top 2 seeds or an at-large bid at that point. Or if they're in the Big Ten, say they move to the Big Ten. Now you give yourself almost 6 opportunities, at least 5. You give yourself 5 opportunities to get in the field, the 4 automatic bids, and then the 1 at-large bid. If they move into the ACC, probably about 3, 1 of the 2 automatic bids and an at-large bid. So this could really move Notre Dame into a conference. That would be the one thing I would like to see come out of this if it does happen. But I really wish at the end of the day it doesn't. We don't need that many automatic bids for the SEC and the Big Ten, and for the ACC and the Big 12 for that matter. And we don't need 16 fucking teams in a college football playoff. 12 was more than enough. 12 I thought was too much, like I already said already. So 16 is too much. Keep it at 12. That's where we're at right now. We're not going backwards. But figure out the automatic bids, no automatic buys, and that should be good going forward. But please, 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 someone get their hands on the wheel in college football and steer this sport in the right direction. It is my favorite sport in the entire world, and it has been steered in a terrible direction, whether it's from the transfer portal, NIL, conference realignment, college football playoff expansion. It's been steered in the wrong way, and it's almost been steered into the fucking water at this point. So get it back on the street, get it back on the road, and get it back going where it should be, because it is one of the best sports in the entire world, in my opinion, the best sport in the entire world. But with all that being said, thank you for watching and listening to this. This is Sports Talk on a Budget, like I said at the beginning. You can find this podcast on YouTube, on YouTube if you like the video version. However, if you prefer the audio version, please go ahead and subscribe and like the show on places like Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, basically wherever you get your podcast. Thank you again for watching and listening. Please go check out my NFL show that goes live tomorrow night called From the Sidelines NFL on the Sports Fluent Network if you get a chance. But again, thank you for watching and listening, and have a great day.